Here's Brody Brazil.
3 things I wanted to square away before anything else in this video. Number 1, happy holidays. And thanks for being here on the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. Number 2, I also appreciate your interest or at least curiosity in this topic and this subject. You clicked on the video, you wanted to see what it was all about, so hopefully I can make it worth your time. And on that note, number 3, speaking of time, settle in for a while because I've got 70 plus photos from the year 2023. I'm just here to document my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. By the way, these are coming your direction in no sequential order, so it doesn't necessarily start in January and end in December. I think I did bunch them up based on topic, but without further delay, here we go. Ah yes, me and Brownie in the studio, rocking the mullets. This was for the Sharks' first ever game at Mullet Arena, facing the Arizona Coyotes on the campus of Arizona State. And yeah, so of course we had to order the mullets and wear them all night long. That's what you're supposed to do as a good broadcaster, right? But in all seriousness, aside from the mullets, I do want to take this opportunity to recognize the departure of Curtis Brown. That happened in this calendar year of 2023. He left the Bay Area. He left the Junior Sharks, he left NBC Sports to pursue other hockey opportunities in Lincoln, Nebraska, and to be closer to his kids. And I just want to say how much I always appreciated working with Curtis. We had great chemistry. We had such a presentation that people thought we were actually angry at each other. We were at odds with each other. We would go against each other all the time. It was so real, it appeared so real, at least on screen, that people thought it was actually that way. When it turns out, no, it was not like that. He and I loved to play. We loved kind of creating that mystique of a host and an analyst who always kind of had the opposite side from each other and weren't afraid to chirp each other at any and every opportunity. So I do miss Curtis. Again, great to work with, but I'm so happy for him that he made some decisions and is doing other things that he wanted to do. Speaking of Doc Brown, he was also there the night that Patrick Marleau had his number 12 retired at SAP Center. What a night. The pregame, the postgame, the game was fine, but all the ceremonies before and afterwards, they had a party for Patty. Oh, that's pretty good, party for Patty. Look at Scott Hannon's mohawk. He tightened up that night. It was such an electric vibe and atmosphere at the tank. And just a night that we haven't really seen in quite some time surrounding a Sharks game. It had the energy of a playoff game. It really was something special. And obviously for Patty, but also for the Sharks community. I will never forget that night. Obviously, we got to talk to Patty on our show, but we also had this chance, the throwback. Me and Hanner sandwiching in Jumbo Joe Thornton, Danny Heatley, Evgeny Nabokov, and Ryan Clough, left to right there as I mentioned them all. We had all 4 of them on as guests of the program. It was amazing to be 6 wide? We rarely ever do that on a pregame show, but to honor Patty, to have everybody that was important be there, it was a very special night. And I got to say, it was just an honor to be kind of hosting the pregame ceremonies where his banner went up in the rafters, number 12 forever. There's Jumbo. Look at Drew and Tara Sloan talking to Jumbo. Drew's looking at me, taking a picture. Look how happy he is just to be back with the Sharks. Even in times where San Jose is obviously not, what they once were at in terms of competitiveness, and they're getting back there, no question about it. We'll give him that time, but he is just so happy to be back, and I'm so thrilled that I get to work with him again. Okay, this was in January, A's Fantasy Camp 2023. Carney Lansford on the left, Terry Steinbach on the right. They were my managers of the team that I played on. I think we were called the Red Asses. That's what Carney named us. It was such a cool experience to hang out with a bunch of, guys like this that I already knew, Carney and Terry, but to meet so many other fans of the Oakland A's at Fantasy Camp and to play actual baseball on the fields. This was down in Arizona at the spring training home in Mesa. To play on perfectly manicured fields and to be in a professional level clubhouse and to have all the meals taken care of us. And we were down there for, Yeah, almost a full week, I think. It was an outstanding experience. There's yours truly squaring one up. And you know what's crazy about this photo? If you look where the ball is making contact with the bat, I mean, not necessarily like, yeah, it's barreled up, but look whose face is right behind that baseball. Do you know who that is? Take a second, zoom in if you have to. Does that face look familiar? That's Barry Zito. Special guest of 2023 was watching from the other side of the field in the dugout. That's Barry Zito watching yours truly hit a double to left center field. Now, I say hit a double. There's just one thing about the whole experience. I didn't necessarily leg that one out because this is an actual photo of me pulling my actual right hamstring. I don't think it was a complete tear, but there was definitely an injury there. I popped that thing. I tumbled over first base. That's literally the first swing I took on day number 1 of fantasy camp. I hit a ground ball to short. The shortstop bobbled it a little bit. Literally first pitch I saw, first pitch I swung at. Bobbled it. I'm thinking, all right, I'm jogging up first base, up the line. If I start sprinting now, I can beat it out. The answer is yes, I did beat it out. But the answer is also yes, I spent the next couple days on the training table. And you know what? I should have also included photos of that, like me getting treatment. The A's trainers and doctors down there in Arizona, they were fantastic. Like, they made me feel so much better in such a short period of time. You know, all the stories you hear about athletes and trainers, how they say, you know, they're quick recoveries, they credit the trainers. I've always heard that, but I could never really understand that or relate to it. Now I can 100% relate to it. Those trainers do wonders because I was back on the field, well, hobbling around, but at least participating in just a couple days. But at first, I mean, here we are almost a year later. My hamstring still twitches a little bit. I don't know that it'll ever be the same, but it hurt. It was great being around new friends, but also around old friends, DB, Dallas Braden, Shooty Babbitt, myself. I think this was on our final day right before we headed back to the airport, but Dallas and Shooty were kind of the MCs of the fantasy camp. They were the ringleaders. It was such a great time. And I don't know if it's in the cards to ever do it again, but I'm glad that at least I had the opportunity in 2023. It was a really good time down there. Okay, we're back home. This also looks like it's in the early months of the year, probably January, February. I can tell because there's no leaves on that tree, but there's me and Melvin, dog Melvin. He's going to be 9 years old in a couple weeks. Still loves his daily walk. He's so great with our son. Melvin's been through a little bit recently, but we love him. We're so happy that he's a part of our family, and what a good boy. And now Bob Melvin back in the Bay Area. So it's all good. Look at Melvin looking right at the camera. He hates the camera, by the way. Whenever I pull it out to take a picture of him, he looks away. So that's a rare opportunity that I got a selfie with Melvin. And yes, that is what I look like in the mornings when I don't do anything to my hair or I haven't showered yet. That's what I look like. Oh, look who got 2 brand new bowling balls in 2023. Fun story, I had a prior bowling ball for about 20 years. But I left it in the garage I hadn't bowled in a couple of years. And apparently if you leave your bowling ball in the garage where it gets hot and cold and hot and cold, your bowling ball will crack. That happened to my old bowling ball. I used to only have 1 ball. Well, the pros have 2 for a specific reason. That's my strike ball on the left. That was one of my birthday presents. And then the spare ball is the blue one on the right. I picked that one up too. So yes, I now own 2 bowling balls. Those are the ones I bowl with. The one on the left is it's the Black Widow hybrid from Hammer. And then the one on the right is just a Brunswick ball. T-Zone, I believe. It's meant to go straight. So the Black Widow is amazing. That thing has got some hooks, some bite. It's drilled for my hand. They basically took the same pattern from my old ball and put it on these 2. So it's exactly how I wanted it. The pro shop over at Earl Anthony in Dublin, fantastic job. And you know how you can tell the bowling balls work well. This was a couple days after my birthday, April 5th. This is the first time. Now, I don't think I had the spare ball at this point. I was just bowling with the strike ball. This was my first game bowling with it. Look at the first two frames. 7-1, couldn't pick up a spare. 7-1, again, couldn't pick up the spare. Then from the third frame on, strike, 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 9, spare, strike, strike, 9. That got me to a 234 in the first game I ever bowled with that new ball. What a way to break it in, which is a 234 is a really good game for me. When I'm on it, I could be around the 200s on a pretty regular basis, but that's the thing. I haven't been on it as of late. So I kind of got back into bowling in 2023. I also got my son a little bit into bowling in 2023, and I'm pretty sure by looking at this photo here, there's no pins up. And his second ball just got thrown. I'm pretty sure the little guy just picked up a spare. It's really fun to pass along bowling to him. It's something I take, I say semi-seriously. Like, I get mad if I don't do well. But I also realize some days when I go out there that if I'm not any good, it's because I don't work on it nearly enough. And I should, and I could, and I get excited every time I go bowling. Now, okay, I get it. Some of you are like, wait a second. Is that your wheeled bag? Yes, it is. Because when you carry two balls, you're not holding them in bags. You're rolling that thing in. And yes, those are also my Hammer branded shoes. I'm a Hammer guy. And you know what? Hammer Bowling, if you're out there, and you're looking to collaborate with yours truly, I'm more than willing and ready. I'm ready to stop buying your stuff. I'm ready to start getting it and promoting it and using it all the time. Hammer Bowling is a really good product. Everything they make, I've been very happy with. Yeah, but there's me putting the shoes on, getting ready for bowling out in Dublin. Yeah, you could see the focus there. It's like I'm not yet. I'm not nearly good at all at golf. So bowling's the one thing where I'm like, I think I'm going to take it kind of seriously. There you go. Don't mind the chicken legs, but there's the Hammer shoes. I would say they fit like a glove, but that would go on your hand. Here's me bowling with my parents. I think my son was still there because I see grandma and grandpa. My son must be on the different scorecard, but I'm second boo-boo butt. Second boo-boo butt bowled a 220 that game. Looks like I did pretty well. I have an open frame in the 9th there, and I couldn't finish it off in the 10th with the final strike. But you know what? 220s, I will take those happily. Okay, speaking of golf, or at least Top Golf, my wife and I went on a Valentine's Day date, except I'm pretty sure we had a hockey game on Valentine's Day 2023. So I was with Curtis Brown on Valentine's Day, but I was with my wife. I think this was the day before. This might have been the 13th or the 12th, one of the 2 days right before. We had a great time at Top Golf down in, it's really Alviso, I think, or do they call it Santa Clara? I hadn't been there before. The facility is great. I've been to other Top Golfs. Actually, I've been to other Top Golfs, but I've never golfed at a Top Golf before this. And it's funny how my swing got so much better once there was beer and food there. How does that work? The golf balls were going straighter and farther. It's amazing how that works. But no, it was a lot of fun. Myself, my wife, and we were thinking like we should do this more. We should do this again. We should invite our friends. We should have a big group of friends. And even as it got dark and those big targets lit up, such a cool environment. Top Golf is such a cool thing. I definitely hope the Bay Area, and I think there's one more coming to the East Bay. I hope the Bay Area can get a couple more of those. They're outstanding. Okay, speaking of right around Valentine's Day, like this is the stuff of being a dad that melts your heart. When you get a card handwritten like that from your son, and it's got dad on it, and he knew how to spell that, and the hearts, oh man. It's like I almost don't even need to read what's inside. I did, but just seeing the cards pop up like that, it's, yeah. It melts me inside. We took our son to the zoo quite a bit, including Glowfari. This is at the Oakland Zoo. Such a cool thing they do during every holiday season. And in fact, as you're still watching this, I think Glowfari goes on until January or February, so there's still time to check it out. The lighting, the LEDs, the colors, the stuff they do during the nighttime hours at the Oakland Zoo. Granted, there's no animals out there, so they go to bed at night, as they should. But the light show is fantastic. So pick a good night where there's no rain, where it's not too cold, but grab a jacket, head on out there, and grab your camera. It is, or your phone, but it is so photogenic out there, and it's such a cool experience. It's maybe the second or third time we went to Glowfari. Okay, that's Terry Smith, and I'm pretty sure this was also in February. It does seem like a lot of these things were from, well, that last Glowfari was from a couple weeks ago. But this was back in February. Terry Smith, who's a Bay Area guy, who is literally the person that designed the original Sharks logo. He actually also designed the current one, the second version. But Terry Smith, and that is actually my starter jacket from middle school. I kid you not. From the early 90s. I saved it. That's why it's yellowing a little bit there, unfortunately. But that's the starter jacket that they're like starting to remake now. All the kids want it all over again. But it was so cool. And I'd talked to Terry a bit back and forth. I'd known him for a while, but to meet him in person, by the way, you can watch the interview I did with him right here on the YouTube channel. But it was so special to like ask him questions about the design and how he came up with it, and the influences he had in it, and almost how the Sharks color turned out to be red instead of teal. So I don't know if you can tell, like on my face right there, how excited I was. But Terry, if you see this, I hope you're well, and I hope you know how important and special this was to me, to meet you and to hang out with you and to hear your story. Truly amazing. Like the guy who created the logo we see every single day. All right, now this guy's less important. It looks like Stu and I are selling cars here, or insurance, or like we're real estate agents. You know what I'm saying? I love Stu, man. Stu is the dude. But doesn't it, like, we don't look like broadcasters here, do we? We look like we're in a totally different industry. And also, and this picture is tilted, it's slanted down, like he's meant to look a little bit taller on the presentation, but I'm like, how am I even... I feel like I should be much shorter than him side by side. I was not standing on a box. There was nothing elevating me. So we were literally side. This was from spring training, the media session they do with us. They get all the headshots. They do all the hero shots. You're about to see all of this. They do it at the start of every baseball season, and then they use that footage throughout. And again, I don't know how I'm even close to the same height as Stu. And I also think this pose is hilarious. Just like, hey, you want to buy a house? Come see Stuart in Brazil. But spring training was a busy time. Yeah, there's Stu doing his promo shoot. You can see NBC Sports. Authentic moments live here. Something like that. So they bring out literally the cinema camera, like the movie quality camera, to do all these smoke and mirror shots with us and screens behind us. It's so cool. I also did a bunch of interviews. Tony Kemp, I think Shea Langoliers, you might see that. This is Trevor May. Yeah, that Trevor May who just retired. It's crazy to think, right? That's Trevor May's last spring training as a player. And obviously his retirement, which was streamed online, that was an event in itself, wasn't it? But anyway, there's us at Hohokam Stadium doing one of our interviews for the All A's program. There's me and Seth Brown doing our little promo. There must have been a read there like, hey, watch pre and post game live or something. Say something, Seth. I don't know. I don't even remember what our lines were, but you can see the boom mic. You can see we're watching something or we're being instructed on something. Actually, we're looking right into the camera lens. That's what we're doing there. So we record a lot of stuff like super early in the morning. Shintaro Fujinami. Isn't that a trip? That feels like so long ago. But there's Fuji's first few days. That's a tongue twister. Fuji's first few days as an Oakland Athletic. Spring training itself had been underway just a little bit. The games obviously hadn't started yet, but Fuji now is departed from the A's. But I was there with his interpreter. We're in the dugout doing an interview. So I do a lot of interviews down at spring training for NBC Sports. It's usually the promotional stuff and then the interviews like this. There's photographer Sean Phillips there on the scene. I'm interviewing Shea Langoliers. That's up in the press box. It's crazy. We wanted to do these outside, and usually Arizona and spring training, that's no problem. It was so cold on one day, And then the next day, the temperature warmed up, but it was so windy that like the mic was all like you couldn't hear anything the entire time. Plus, hats would be flying around. So we had to come inside and do this up in the press box. But you probably saw that program and the All A's interview with Shea Langoliers. Oh, and then there's yours truly. Mean mugging the camera. Look how big that camera is. I'm pretty sure that's like a $150,000 camera. Plus all the lights and the setup. I mean, it is, like I said, cinema quality, what they put us in front of and those shots that they use. You've seen them all in the broadcast all year long. So that's always cool to get your picture taken in front of that. Okay, I think we're done with spring training. We're back home. Okay, this was actually a couple weeks ago at the, what's it called, European Train Enthusiasts exhibit over in Alamo. They do this every year. I think they've switched locations recently, but they do kind of a pop-up train exhibit. I believe these are N scale. My son loves trains, and I love the exhibits too. Like, look at all the scenery there. Is that supposed to be Switzerland, maybe? Something like that, or no? Germany, potentially? It's really hard to without remembering exactly. Oh, Lufthansa. So maybe this is the German section. But anyway, the point is the details in the exhibit are so fantastic. It gets down to little meticulous small details of the design and the people, and it's an amazing display. You should definitely check it out. They do it for the holidays, but I'm pretty sure they tour around year long to like the State Fair and other things like that. Okay, I know where I'm at here. SAP Center. This was only a couple, probably months ago at this point. This might have been October or November. I'm just inside the Sharks team offices. Probably I've just changed or getting ready for a show. And there were two cutouts, one of general manager Mike Greer and the other one of head coach David Quinn. And when I turned the corner, you know how like when you just do a quick glance, I thought it was really them. Whoa! And then I realized it was just their cardboard cutouts. So of course I had to take a creepy picture of those guys. And that's also like way too close of a picture on me. You can also see my earpiece. It's not in my ear. It's almost tucked into the suit jacket there, but yeah, nothing like being watched at all times. Okay, I went through and found this picture, and I'm putting it here on the slideshow because I realized something this year that I fault Drew Remenda on. 15 years ago, or whenever I met Drew, he was always meticulous about tying a tie like that and having the dimple, the little teardrop in the middle. And some ties, like they actually knot better. They tie a knot better. They make that little dimple. Other ties, it's hard to get them to do that. But the problem is Drew has set such a standard for himself that somehow I got caught up into. If we're like 10 minutes before a show and I'm tying my tie and it's not right, I have to take it all off and do it all over again. And I have to rework it to get that knot to look just like that with the dimple. And I blame Drew because he's the one that put me onto this. Now, granted, I could easily just say, I'll tie the tie and we'll see how it looks. But I feel like I never want to let Drew down. And so because of Drew, every time I tie a tie, I try and get it to look just like that. And I took this photo, not for myself, because I guarantee I sent it to Drew like 10 seconds later. Okay, oh look, we're at the home studio. This is literally what is in front of me right now. Like, as I record this, what you're seeing right there is actually right here. There's the very keyboard, in fact. Spent a lot of time in the home studio here in 2023. I guess I wanted to make that part of this presentation. The YouTube channel has grown tremendously. I just want to say this about it. I want this channel to be a platform, a way for me to reach you with thoughts and content and perspectives and material and things I find important. Not trying to create the day job that I have or recreate it, but I just wanted this outlet as a way to reach people. I love the idea of a home studio. I think it's such a valuable tool. I've built this thing up over the years. It's definitely taken some extra steps in the year 2023. I spent a bunch of time here in this home studio, and I really appreciate all the support that all of you have given me. So that's the home studio. This is what the, quote, remote studio looks like. When I'm at work, I go up into one of the conference rooms. You can kind of see, well, there's me on that screen in the background. It's that that glass background with two lines. You've probably seen some prior videos. They're all over my channel. But I occasionally make videos from the remote studio. The room is not acoustically treated. It's not lit professionally or anything, but it's a good spot for videos because it's secluded. But that's what my equipment looks like. The laptop, the switcher, the Stream Deck, the hard drive, the Rodecaster Pro 2, the Sennheiser microphone, the Sony camera, and that's it. And all of that packs up in a couple Pelican travel cases, and keep some of it at the office, bring some of it home with me. But yeah, that's the remote setup that sometimes you see. I'd rather not, though, always be in the studio. I like getting out. I like seeing my friends. And this baseball season, I made a concerted effort to go see people when their teams came into town that I'm friends with. Mark Canha, the San Jose native, who at that time was playing on the Mets. As you know, he ended his season on the Brewers, and as you also know, he's now on the Tigers. But he's also in the final year of his contract, so maybe it'll be Detroit and somewhere else this year. It's a lot of switching teams for Mark Canha, a guy that I really enjoy, really appreciate. He gets it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good dude no matter what his job is. Same thing with Liam Hendriks, who, oh my gosh, went through cancer in 2023. I'll never forget when I found out, I think it was it January, right? Because I sent him a text shortly thereafter, and just amazing. A guy like that to have that diagnosis, and you know, here in 2023, he'll have the best medical attention. He's determined and devoted as can be. He's a strong individual, and he beat it. He got back, and then he got injured. What a string of luck, unfortunate luck for Liam Hendriks. I know that he's already said he wants to get back to pitching again by around the All-Star break 2024. I absolutely wish him the best. But it was so cool to catch up with him when the Chicago White Sox came into town at the Coliseum. Really, really enjoy Liam Hendriks. Oh yeah, there's also Bo Mel, which is a trip because we're here in the A's dugout. We're actually in the Padres dugout. We're in the visiting side here doing this interview, but it's got the A's behind us, which is where I met Bob more than 10 years ago now, 12 years ago, whatever it was. He's wearing a Padres uniform there because that was his job when we were doing this. And now, as you know, he's manager of the San Francisco Giants. We'll get to that in just a second. I obviously watch the Padres very closely. I may have even obtained some Padres paraphernalia in the last couple years, just because of Bo Mel, right? Like, I get it. People root for teams, but I'm so close to this business that I find rooting for people is more my thing. And pulling for Bo Mel, I was shocked of just how things played out in San Diego and how it just never kind of came together, at least last year. 2 years ago, they were in the NLCS. Last year, never came together at all, and I know Bob was under the microscope a little bit, and I hated that for him. I know what type of guy he is, and I know what type of great manager he'll be in San Francisco, but it was so good to see him and catch up with him, and I don't know, these moments, they really make me miss the old days. I loved having him as the manager of the team that I was covering. He had a good relationship, got a lot of information from him, good interviews. He's so well-spoken, such a good communicator. And well, that brings us to the day it was announced that he'd be the manager in San Francisco. Of course I went to that press conference at Oracle Park. And of course I was trying to find out all the information as it was breaking behind the scenes, and the Padres let him interview with the Giants. I'll be honest, as soon as I heard that, I knew that Bob would be coming to San Francisco. And Giants fans, maybe you know how lucky you are to have him as your manager right now, but maybe you're also about to find out. He's home. He's comfortable. He's got another, kind of thing under his belt, the whole Padres experience. And hopefully he can be given the tools to execute something special. I get it. The NL West is a beast, but I'll take my chances with Bob Melvin and a scrappy team that's hungry and can fight and is young and it's got some character. I'll take a Bob Melvin team literally against anybody else. I really will. So I'm thrilled for Bob Melvin. Okay, I think this was late October, early November. I don't remember exactly, but a little camping trip with my son. His first ever overnight camping trip. This was up at Lake Chabot, which is actually a place where when I was, I think, in elementary school, we also had a camping trip. I don't know if it was through school or Cub Scouts back then, but such an awesome experience. He loved it to the point where there might be some camping equipment as Christmas gifts this year, if you know what I'm saying. Like we might do a little bit more camping in 2024. He liked it. And I've always loved camping. I think it's going to be a great thing for us to do together over the coming years. Now that he's old enough to kind of get out there and do it, and some of his friends really like it too. He's into the tent, he's into the flashlight, he's into the headlamp, he's into the s'mores, he's into hiking just a little bit. He's into being outdoors. So we've got most of the things we need. There's probably a few more equipment purchases to be made and to be obtained, but camping was a lot of fun. And what was crazy is I did this one overnight, and I remember I had a Sharks game the next day, so I slept okay, but it was a long day before and a long morning. Then I rushed home, then I rushed back out to San Francisco. Like I was beat on television that night. Hopefully, nobody actually noticed. Okay, we're getting to that point of the video. Part of this year was really rough to go through all of the A's relocation stuff. And, you could sense I'm like feeling this right now because I'm looking at this photo of June 13th. I'll never forget the date. The reverse boycott, which was planned far in advance of some of the other developments that happened between the A's and Las Vegas and turning their attention to the state of Nevada and the legislative session and SB 509 and SB 1 and forget all that for just a second. This night, this showing, these emotions, those moments, the fifth inning when the crowd got so loud that the game had to be stopped. It was unbelievable. It was unforgettable. If that crowd just wanted to send a message, that message was sent and it was received. I'm not saying that everybody liked it, like the people that the message was sent to. I don't know if they liked it, but they needed to at least get their message across. And it brings me to wondering what's next at the Coliseum. I mean, 2024 and beyond have a ton of questions right now, but 2023, it was a bit traumatic. I'm going to be honest with you. I lost a lot of sleep this year. Just thinking about what was happening, how it was happening, what would come next. Me being kind of caught in the middle of all this with a little bit of a responsibility to ask some questions and to represent the fans and the public and our viewers. This is, by the way, a photo of me from after the season was over. I went back to the Coliseum one day to interview David Forst to do kind of a season recap with the general manager. But I was there at the Coliseum. It was entirely empty. And this was, a good couple weeks after the season was over, probably 2 weeks. And the field was still intact and the grass was still cut. I mean, look at the lines are basically almost entirely there. And it was a bit eerie. I mean, every time I went out to the Coliseum this year, it just hit differently. And almost to the point of like visiting one of your friends in the hospital who wasn't doing well. Like you're happy to be there and you're happy to see them and that part of it's normal, but there's just like something looming over every time I was out there. And so this year was largely one of the most difficult professional years I've ever been through. And there's Bip and I in the studio. I mean, he was with me. This is not that night. There's the Bridge Trophy, the famous or infamous Bridge Trophy, depending on how you view it. You should look up that's how you remember the difference between famous and infamous. Bip was with me the night that I had the moment, which a lot of people still talk about. I just broke down. Because earlier that day, I'd seen a kid wearing an A's hat. And it just struck me on that random, Wednesday, whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday, that in 10 years, if the A's move forward with this and move out of Oakland in the Bay Area, you won't see that hat anymore. It'll be like an Expos hat. And it was great to be around people like Bip and Shooty and Stu. It was good to have Johnny Gomes this year, but people I felt comfortable being around to kind of go through documenting everything that was happening. It's extremely uncomfortable to go down this road. It's unprecedented to go through what we went through. Okay, back to the Shark side. Let's brighten up the mood. This is the Sharks Media Day. Now, like I said, we were at spring training to do A's Media Day. This was in September for Sharks Media Day. So it's kind of that same backdrop. Obviously, they changed the colors, Sharks teal. There's the same boom mic, probably the same camera, a lot of people on the same crew. Looks like there's Drew. I see Drew with the headset on there to the left and the clipboard. It looks like he's got my lines there. And what they do is they say the lines to you, like me, and then I repeat them. Like, okay, Brody, authentic moments live here. Go. And I say, authentic moments live here. Something like that. So there you go. That's basically, there's a lot more to it. You can also see how I'm standing right on the tee. See how they put a tape of tee? That's so they can tell meatheads like me and everybody else, hey, stand on your mark, buddy. We don't have time for all this. This was a segment where they had us watch a bunch of classic Sharks clips and then comment on them. I think these are promos. I think I just saw one with the Tomas Hertl goal hit the air the other day. But look at that camera. It's on a big crane. Again, they spare no expense for these shoots. They do it to cinema quality. I also do a bunch of Sharks player interviews on that day. Mario Ferraro looks like he's mad at me right there. But I also know he, like I, am Italian. He's full, I think. Is he full? I'm half. But it's the Italian in us. You got to talk with your hands. That's what he's doing right there. I love Mario. Such a good dude. I wish the season would allow him to be more active on his YouTube channel. Youngest of plugs. Okay. Oh, we're moving on now. So we went from September here to actually just a couple weeks ago. This was early December. Baseball's winter meetings in Nashville, Tennessee. That is A's manager Mark Kotsay. I think we just finished doing the interview. We were at the Opryland Hotel, which is in the background. Tremendous resort and venue for hosting something like this. But it was good to see Kotz. And I got to tell you, baseball players, baseball coaches, baseball managers, and really hockey players are like this too. When you see them towards the middle to the end of their respective seasons, they are so beat down. They are so grinded out, so to speak. They're not the same people. Look how just happy and cheerful he is here. And I'm not saying Kotz is a bad dude during the season at all, right? But everybody gets a little crispy during the season. And even wins or losses, whatever. It's such a taxing experience to play 162 games in 150 something days or whatever it is. Or no, 170 days, whatever it is. How many days is it? 180? Whatever. I guess I never really figured that part out. But it's such a grind. So when you see these same people in the off season and they're fresh, that's always kind of the rewarding part of it. Love seeing Kotz out there. I love seeing this 500-foot Christmas tree. Well, not in reality, but maybe it's 40 feet. I think I estimated that thing to be at least 40 feet tall. Opryland was, wow. It was, somebody said, this is the best cruise ship I've ever been on. I did a tour of the resort. That's here on my YouTube channel. Make sure you check that one out after you're done with this video. There's kind of a wide look at one of the different atrium areas. There was 3 or 4 of these atrium areas with waterways. There was a little boat ride, little boat tour ride. Is it also called a gondola? Yeah, right? The boat's like in Venice. And it does a little tour through the waterway there. There were bridges and restaurants. It was just a magical thing. It really was. Had never been to Opryland before, but I got to say, if you're going to stay in Nashville, it's a pretty good option if you can swing it. 2023 full of wine. Of course, why wouldn't it be? Especially because of the circumstances of the year and the baseball team thing. I love Hall wines. I love especially Craig's. So that was That was probably a random summer weeknight right there where maybe I had a day game and I was off, or maybe it was a weekend, like a Saturday day game, and I come home Saturday night and I usually drink a couple glasses and my wife drinks about one. Do the math. Speaking of my wife, of course we went to go see the Barbie movie in July. It was right around her birthday. I wore the headband because I was told to look like Ken, as much as Ken as possible. I am Kenuff. I brought that Kenergy. I always find it interesting, and some people I guarantee are watching right now saying, "Oh, that's so dumb. I can't believe you did that. Oh, Barbie movie, blah, blah." It was clever. It was thoughtful. It was well done. It was a hard thing to pull off. Like all the things they needed to bring up and touch on, it was well done. So of course I went out to see the Barbie movie. How many other movies have I seen recently? Like in the actual proper theater. All right, so my son, at some point during the summer, he tipped that chair over and broke the top off. And not only did he break it off, but this is me after I've kind of hollowed out those two sidebars and I was able to put the dowel like back in there. He broke it pretty good. Like it did not do a clean break. So I had to do a lot of woodworking, and you can see, oh gosh, what are those called? The drill bits. I forget the name of them now. Anyway, but I'm digging in there pretty well to clear those out and clear the wood out of there. I glued it all together. Of course, about an hour later, I got that thing looking perfect again. So big into the woodworking. I always try and make time for that. Love tools, love being out in the garage. I like fixing things that are fixable. Like some projects, I just don't have the time for. If I was younger and more single and less commitments, but then again, I probably wouldn't have a garage with tools in it. But anyway, I digress. But I like things that I know I can take on in a bite-sized way and knock them out. Speaking of woodworking, I thought this was cool. My son was into doing a lot of coloring with these markers and doing a lot of art. And he saw on a YouTube video, shout out to, what are they called? Oh, it's a drawing channel. Of course, now I'm going to forget it. But anyway, you basically do the drawing that the person, it's like a dad and his kids do on the screen. Now this is going to bother me. I forgot what it was called. Anyway, so he had all his the video has a marker holder like this. So I decided, hey, we can make one of those. So one afternoon we made the marker tray. Stuff like that, right? That's easy enough. We can get it done. Oh, get that off the screen. Did you see that? Okay, so I had quite the health run over the summer. I'm going to put this back up and then take it off. Oh, man, look at that. Is viral conjunctivitis right there. Pink eye. And no, I didn't get it in the way you think you get pink eye. No, I think that's bacterial if it deals with feces. No, it's not how I got it. It was an illness, and oh man, my eyes are like watering just looking at that. I'll take it off for a second in case that bothers you. But yeah, I missed like a full week of work. And I got to tell you, that was the most frustrating part, is not just getting this, and my eyes were stinging. I mean, it felt like sunscreen was in my eyes for a good couple of days. And then it felt better, but didn't look better, so I still can't go to work. Also don't want to be contagious to anybody. Yeah, like my wife got it, my son had it, other family. Like this whipped through the family pretty good. Now, this was in June, and what's crazy is that I still have effects of this once in a while when I wake up, or if I'm super tired. My eyes do get a little bit more red than they ever used to, but one more quick look. Yikes! Yeah, that's a broadcaster's worst nightmare right there. So that was June. Now we're in July. I think this is early to mid-July. We're out in Indiana, the typical family vacation. We go to the lake. We're on the boat. We have a good time. Lots of food, lots of family and friends and traditions and cool stuff out in Indiana. So that was awesome. But you know what was not awesome? Getting COVID on either the way out there or being out there or on the way back. And I say that because I was pretty sure that I had COVID before, but not with symptoms. all the places I've been, the people I've been around, they tested positive, and it just, like, I figured at some point, well, I've probably been exposed to it. I wasn't symptomatic. It's possible, right? How could I last this long? Oh yeah, by the way, this was the first time in 2023, in July of 23, first time I ever had COVID. And even when I got it, I had a little bit of the sniffles, which I thought was allergies from being in a different spot like Indiana, and I thought it had kind of flared up. So I took, what do you call it, for allergies. Anyway, I took some allergy medication, and it quickly kind of went away. And then I got home and everybody in my family tested positive. So yeah, that also spread around like wildfire too. And I will say this though, the one crazy part about it was a couple days later, like after I got home and well, I didn't even know that I had it until I got home. But as soon as I got home, like I would say a day or two later, drinking coffee in the morning, couldn't taste it. Whoa, like what's going on with this? Smell it? Can't smell it. All right, I'm going to try something salty, eat some salt. Nope, can't taste anything. To not taste and smell for a couple days like I couldn't, it was a trip. And it all came back. It actually came back slowly. Like, oh, I can taste some really flavorful things, but not everything. Everything tasted a little bit vanilla, I think, even for a week or two. And then finally it all came back. But that might have been the weirdest part about it. And not to minimize, I know everybody's experience is different. Other people in my family, it hit them harder, way harder than it actually did me. But that was definitely something that we went through in the summertime. Oh yeah, I also had an upper respiratory infection in August. I lost my voice. I was talking like this on TV one night, and they were like, "Do you want to take tomorrow off?" So I missed a bunch of time at work this summer that I did not want to, but I had no other choice. Soldering, that has still been one of my hobbies. That's out there in the garage. My son and I were working on that, putting that together. He puts all those little LEDs in the slot. I turn them around and I solder them all up. I solder the joints on the back. It's a father-son activity. Why am I showing you pictures of weights? All right. These dumbbells were actually the Mother's and Father's Day gifts, respectively, from me to my wife and vice versa, because these are so expensive. The Bowflex ones, we were like, yeah, let's call this my gift to you and your gift to me, and let's do it. Let's do it let's do it for Mother's Day and call it the Father's Day gift as well too. But it was these are great. I don't know why I'm showing you these, because you know why? I need to use them more, clearly. But I'm happy to have them. I highly recommend them. Wanted to get weights, and you could see our Peloton right above it, but wanted to get weights for a long time to kind of add to the workouts. You can do a bunch of great workouts on the Peloton. Just swivel the screen over. And anyway, I'm happy we did this purchase. The problem is I just need to make use of it a little bit more. Okay, early 2023, did a family vacation down to San Diego. There's the Hotel del Coronado. There's Legoland, which my son really enjoyed. Yeah, Legoland. I guess was he 5 at that point? Yeah, for a 5-year-old, 5.5, perfect. It was just his speed. It was just his tempo. Like, we literally were there for the park opening and the park closing. And I think it was our first trip that we ever made, no stroller. And he didn't need it at all because he was so excited to be there. Legoland is cool. I mean, who would have thought of all this stuff? All with Legos. George Washington, the Lego version. The Tropicana Hotel? You mean site of the potential future Oakland A's stadium in Las Vegas? How trippy is this? I saw this. This must have been like the first few days of February. This is long before we knew that the A's would be doing anything there. I just happened to have a picture of this. I took a picture of that like, oh, we'll see if that makes sense. Oof. A lot of people say, oh, you should have used this picture as a renderings image. Anyway, kind of weird to run into that down at Legoland. We also went to the San Diego Safari Park, also the San Diego Zoo. I took that picture. I love giraffes, by the way. I just think they're the coolest animals. They're not like overly aggressive. They're not like, I don't think they're temperamental. They're not high maintenance. They're so chill. And their heads are just way up there chewing on trees, grooming themselves, drinking water. I don't know. I don't want to say they don't do much, but I like giraffes. I know I probably can't relate to them because they're so tall and I'm not, but I just like giraffes. Okay, we're back to baseball. Opening day, 2023 at the Coliseum. And again, who would have known at this point that's the same day, that's opening day? Wait, am I wearing the same? I think this is the same quarter zip. Who would have known back then what we know now? Maybe there is only one more opening day for the Oakland A's at the Coliseum. I mean, I'm glad I took this picture, but to be honest with you, and I'm smiling, I'm happy to be out there. First day of baseball, opening day, the national holiday. How am I supposed to feel about the next opening day or any others after that with this situation? I mean, looking at this photo is kind of like looking at a photo of you and a friend who's just not even around anymore. And dead or alive, but just not even around. They're not part of your life, or at least in the same way. I was happy there. I was happy about that right there. Who knew? Hanging out in the dugout. This must have been a later portion of the season, I think, but there were moments like this where I would sit in the dugout midsummer and just kind of glance around and just feel like this is all surreal to me. That in a couple years, a year or two, that all this may not exist like this anymore. This place that we've all been coming to for our entire lives may not exist like this anymore, like quickly. And because of the reasons, it just, yeah. It's a lot to process when you're out there. And so I'll just continue documenting it and remembering it. We'll see how it gets remembered. Nothing like being a dad, by the way, and having your son and your dog watching Bluey. Bluey's a great show. And I just saw this moment where like Melvin and our son were sitting side by side, like on the couch. Like the dog is watching, Melvin is watching TV. Melvin watches TV. I know a lot of animals do, but like he's sitting upright. Look at his ears. He's perked up. He doesn't know what he's watching, but he knows he's watching. And so, of course, I kind of snuck behind them and took that picture. I thought that was a keeper. Okay, I know we're getting to the end of this video here because we're getting on an airplane. Actually, in this case, we're coming back from Hawaii. 2023, by the time the summer happened and the whole baseball season happened, I needed a break. And conveniently enough, now I'm going to say this, but I need you to understand, this is not a flex. This is not a humble brag. We actually got to make 2 separate trips to Hawaii between September and November, about 2 months apart. The initial trip was actually supposed to be for my parents' wedding anniversary to Maui. Unfortunately, as you all know, just a couple weeks prior to what would be our trip, Lahaina had those terrible fires, and we were supposed to go to the north side of Maui. And by the way, that was, as much as I could sit here and talk about good things, bad things of a year, I mean, think about what people in Lahaina are still going through, rebuilding basically an entire community. And it's going to take years, if not like a decade, to maybe feel some sense of normalcy again. Anyway, I just want to say that as I share Hawaii photos with you, the people of Lahaina and that whole situation immediately comes to mind first. But we're at Kona Airport here. We're getting back on the flight to go home. Oh, my computer's decided to go to sleep, I guess. Anyway, but yeah, we made 2 trips out there. They were planned at different times, but this was kind of the test. Is it possible to get sick of Hawaii because you went on 2 trips in such a short span? I've never been to Hawaii in two times in such a close period like that. The answer, by the way, in case you're wondering, is that no, you can't get sick of Hawaii. You could go there every 2 months for the rest of your life and be thrilled with it. It never gets old like that. So I'll tell you, after the entire baseball season and everything that was going on, it was so nice to get out to the islands, to take a breather, have a change of scenery. Shave ice. By the way, have you ever had shave ice with actual ice cream at the bottom? It's amazing. There truly is nothing like it. And I don't think there's any natural colors like that. Like nature does not produce those colors, does it? Those are very human-made colors right there. Yeah, it was great to get out to Hawaii twice. And like I said, both family trips, actually both sides of the family. And so that does not happen often. I want to be clear about that. I took that cool sky photo there. This is not where we stayed, but this is a hotel near where we stayed at Mauna Lani on the big island of Hawaii. Like this hotel, there's something when you walk in this hotel, it seems like magical. It seems so Hawaiian. The architecture, the breezeway, the big glass, the views you can see out the windows, the blue ocean, the palm trees inside. This was actually a hotel that they refurbished a couple years ago. They totally renovated it. Just the wood trims and on everything. It is so, the design of it just gets me. Like if I could design a house from scratch and put it in the right place, it would look just like that. So cool, that hotel. And then I took this photo of the night sky. I think you can see you can see a lot out there. Stars and constellations and galaxies. You got to do a really slow shutter speed to get it to do that. It's like a 30-second exposure, I want to say. So you have to have a clear night, not too much wind. Those palm trees weren't moving too much, but I think, yes, that is where the slideshow concludes. Wow, 56 minutes I'm seeing on the counter down here. I knew this was going to be long, but I'm glad you stuck around. I really do appreciate it. Again, that's just a quick look at 2023 in photos, and we'll do it again next year. Hope for some better times. Understand that life is never perfect, but we're all in this together. On that note, since you made it here to the end, you know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.